you stop and think about it, NXT is a weird promotion. Half green as grass superstars in training learning the ropes, half well-travelled independent heroes who are some of the best wrestlers in the world. For many, it's the last step from the indies to the WWE. For others, their first steps into the weird world of wrestling. When a superstar has served their time in NXT, they are rewarded with a call-up to the main roster where they will be catapulted to the top of the card and treated like royalty. I can't even keep a straight face when I say that. But what about their NXT debuts? Less straightforward than a main roster debut, NXT debuts are a mixture of bombastic arrivals, subtle appearances, and quietly sneaking onto the card like a giant mouse. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic.com, and these are the 10 best NXT debuts. Join us! Number 10, War Raiders. Vikings are cool. It doesn't matter if it's the Berserker or Edge in the TV show handily named Vikings, there's something awesome about a big, mad, feral, hairy fella who's ready to swing a tree stump into someone's teeth. And yes, the Berserker was cool. NXT had seen its share of apocalyptic occultists, cult leaders, and male models, but it was yet to see a set of strapping Nordic lads ready for a big fight. That's where the War Raiders stepped in. After lighting up the heavyweight tag division in New Japan, War Machine made the jump to NXT and continued where they left off by battering the tar out of whatever teams were in their way. In this case, it happened to be Heavy Machinery and Moss and Sabatelli. But the name though, War Machine is such a great name, conjuring up images of a tank, a big catapult, or an Iron Man's mate. War Raiders doesn't quite roll off the tongue. It could have been worse, I suppose. Could have called them the Viking Experience or something. Wait, what? Number 9, Ricochet. Ricochet is a once-in-a-generation talent, and watching him ply his trade is like watching prime Rey Mysterio in his WCW heyday. His matches against Will Ospreay broke the internet due to their amazing aerial interplay, and for how much they boiled the piss out of old-timers like Rip Rogers. The former Prince Puma made his way to WWE Developmental in early 2018 after finally wriggling his way out of his problematic Lucha Underground contract, and soon did the now customary wave to the people, blow kisses to the people soft introduction in the crowd at TakeOver Philadelphia. Big Springy Rick made his TV debut in the build-up to TakeOver New Orleans, announcing himself as the 6th participant in the NXT North American title ladder match by glaring at everyone and doing his springboard backflip ninja pose thing. You know, the one where he looks like an Assassin's Creed character. Fans around the world salivated at the prospect of seeing Ricochet not only in a WWE ring, but also to see him in a ladder match. A perfect combination, like jelly and ice cream, or Shane McMahon and Sweat. His in-ring debut was technically against Fabian Eichner, but this was pre-recorded and aired after TakeOver New Orleans, so for all intents and purposes, his first televised match was the ladder match. Okay? Okay. Number 8, Asuka. Having bounced around the Japanese and American indies for the best part of 10 years, the then Kana had quietly been building up a reputation as one of the standout female wrestlers on the planet, as well as one of the hardest. She even went toe-to-toe with Minoru Suzuki at one point, which is a level of toughness I cannot comprehend. Kana was ringside at TakeOver Brooklyn in 2015, looking absolutely fuming next to Ric Flair and Sergeant Slaughter. It was a weirdly understated way to introduce the Empress to the NXT faithful. Soon after, Kana signed with the WWE, did a big press conference in Japan, signed her contract in-ring with Commissioner Regal, and took the name Asuka. Regal put Asuka over massively, calling her the greatest competitor signed to NXT, and she soon proved it. Battering Dana Brooke at TakeOver Respect, having a stellar match with Emma at TakeOver London, before becoming NXT's answer to Goldberg. Number 7, Bobby Roode. The Glorious One is another in the long list of NXT debutantes that turned up at ringside and sat there looking miserable for 5 seconds as everyone cheered. And then, nothing. 2 months passed until we saw Bad Bob again, this time sneaking around backstage at TakeOver The End as William Regal was being interviewed. The former TNA champion was all business, suited and booted and seemingly ready to cut some sort of deal. Skip forward another 2 months and Roode finally made his official TV debut, sauntering down to the ring to an incredible theme and proceeded to bollock the fans, stating that he was there to take NXT to the next level. Roode injected a classic heel mentality that was sorely missing from NXT. NXT. Part horseman Ric Flair, part cocky businessman, his promise to fill the audience with executives and CEO made him the antithesis of what NXT stood for. And he could back it up in the ring too, and soon started laying waste to the mid-card until he made his way to the NXT title picture, becoming #1 contender after 4 months on the roster, or 8 months if you count the fannying around before his contract signing. Number 6, Finn Balor. The artist formerly known as Prince Devitt, Finn Balor made his name as one of the best and most important gaijin in New Japan, forming the Bullet Club and beating the likes of Okada, Tanahashi, and Kojima without barely breaking a sweat. Unable to properly break out of New Japan's juniors division, Finn wanted a change, and after his contract expired, he made his way to NXT. Balor made his debut in September 2014, rushing to Hideo Itami's aid against the Ascension, and in the process forming a dream tag team to make most wrestling diehards weak at the knees. The top juniors of New Japan and Noah respectively, Balor and Itami were representative of NXT's new direction. Bring the best talent from around the world, get them accustomed to the WWE style, then unleash them on the main roster. Balor was over like Rover from the get-go, aided in part by the first appearance of the Demon at TakeOver R Evolution, easily the crappiest name ever for a TakeOver event, where he and Itami beat the Ascension. The team didn't last long, and Finn soon found his way to the top of the NXT card, landing the division's top prize in July 2015, becoming arguably the most popular NXT champion of all time. Speaking of which, number 5, Hideo Itami. One of NXT's first big gets was when they signed pro wrestling superstar Kenta in 2014. The former GHC heavyweight champion signed his contract in ring during an NXT show in Osaka, flanked by Hulk Hogan and Hulk Hogan's superfan, Jimmy Hart. This was the first time NXT had publicly created fanfare for one of their signings, with previous signings usually entering NXT quietly during house shows, with the dirt sheets being the ones to lose their minds. Think back to Sami Zayn shuffling in as El Generico before quietly unmasking, and you get the picture. Kenta made his proper debut in September during NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. Rechristened by Regal as Hideo Itami, he proceeded to kick 7 Shades of Shiitake out of the Ascension, back before they were jobbers. Unfortunately, Itami's NXT run never really kicked off, with Hideo spending most of his NXT stay on the shelf with shoulder and neck injuries. A shame, as a fully fit Itami at the top of the NXT card would have been amazing. What could have been? Number 4, Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe showing up in NXT in 2015 was one of the fledgling brand's first truly big power moves. Sure, they had started hoovering up the best of the US and international independent scenes, but the acquisition of Joe was the first that would pique the interest of many casual fans. The former ROH and TNA World Heavyweight Champion had more than made a name for himself in the previous decade, proving he could do it all with whoever he was pitted against, and the WWE was one of the last major brands where he had yet to fully prove his skills. During the climax of the NXT TakeOver Unstoppable main event that saw Kevin Owens turn Sami Zayn into a puddle of misery, Joe made his arrival, sauntering onto the stage with his trademark towel around his neck to stare a hole the size of the Isle of Wight into the prize fighter. Joe was originally signed to a non-exclusive deal which would have allowed him to continue working his indie dates on top of NXT commitments. However, his debut t-shirt sold better than Dolph Ziggler, and Triple H & Co made sure to tie down Joe to a permanent deal. The only reason that Joe isn't higher on our list is because of how dirty the NXT production staff did the Samoan submission machine with his debut theme. Sounded like the menu music from a PS2 demo disc. Number 3, Kevin Owens. For years, Kevin Steen was the independent scene's best kept secret. His runs in PWG and ROH weren't as widely appreciated as they should have been, despite Big Kev having stellar match after stellar match. Opinion changed after Steen clawed and fought his way to the Ring of Honor World title scene, eventually holding the belt and cementing his status as one of the best talents in the business. Nothing lasts forever though, and like Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, and Tyler Black before him, the Ring of Honor star ended up in WWE. Now known as Kevin Owens, his debut was hyped up by weeks of vignettes, leading to a debut bout against CJ Juice Robinson Parker at TakeOver R Evolution. The match itself was a good introduction to Owens for those who may not have seen him before, despite the fact that he wrestled part of the match with a broken nose thanks to an errant slap from Parker. It didn't stop there though. After best buddy Sami Zayn defeated Neville for the NXT title in the main event, Kev led the celebrations, embracing his longtime friend before powerbombing the former El Generico into the ring apron. To go from curtain jerking to the biggest heel in the company in one night is some going. Number 2, Adam Cole. Come on now, say it with me. Adam Cole, baby. Feels good, doesn't it? Felt even better when thousands of rabid New Yorkers belted it at TakeOver Brooklyn 3. Yep, the greasy-haired former Bullet Club rabble-rouser made one hell of an entrance into NXT at what is now considered the brand's own personal WrestleMania. A departure from the now default sit-in-the-crowd-and-wave debut, Cole stormed the ring after the main event, beating down the new NXT champion Drew McIntyre with the help of Bobby Fish and former Ring of Honor tag partner / rival Kyle O'Reilly. This, simply put, is how you make an entrance. The crowd went absolutely ballistic, partly due to the reformation of Fish and O'Reilly as Red Dragon, but also because the X-rated super kick throwing Cole had entered the fray, inserting himself straight into the NXT title picture. The only way this could have been better would have been if Cole had told Drew to suck his you-know-what. But unfortunately, this isn't the Attitude Era. Shame. Number 1, Shinsuke Nakamura. I mean, bloody hell, this one gives me goosebumps. Needing an opponent for TakeOver Dallas in 2016, Sami Zayn was in the ring on NXT TV, all broody and full of fire, proud of his recent match against Samoa Joe, but lamenting the fact that he was not on the TakeOver card. Commissioner Regal sauntered out, agreed with him, and then announced he was taking on NXT's newest signee, cutting to a video of former IWGP Heavyweight Champion Shinsuke Nakamura looking badass. We all remember how we reacted at the time. Parties spilled out in the streets, there were human sacrifices, cats and dogs started living together in harmony. It was mass hysteria. This was and still is the biggest talent acquisition NXT has ever made. The King of Strong Style made his in-ring debut at TakeOver Dallas, and wow, what a match. Earning 4.5 stars from Dave Meltzer, this was an absolute barn burner for the ages. A flurry of stiff kicks, crisp wrestling, and that counter to Zayn's cool ring post tornado DDT thing. Nakamura got the win and started off an undefeated streak that would last for 7 months. For the uninitiated, they had a new king in Nakamura. For those who already knew him, they now had a list of dream matches that was soon to become reality.
Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.